If you've been watching the goings-on in Washington, I don't have to tell you that the Democrats are doing their best to spend every dime you've ever earned and all the dimes that your children and grandchildren will ever earn. And they seem to just be absolutely determined to do that. Nancy Pelosi is being pretty much just, I guess, oblivious to the fact that her party got wiped out in Virginia and a couple of key races in New Jersey. One, the governor's race, not quite determined yet. AP's called it, of course, for the Democrat, but there's still a lot of ballots out. And nobody thought that was even going to be close. But the big news in New Jersey, a truck driver who spent $153 in his primary campaign defeated the Democrat state Senate president who'd been there for like 20-something years. This is a huge upset, absolutely monumental. So Nancy Pelosi was naturally asked, was this a precursor to what we're going to see next year? And maybe her party has gone too far. She obviously didn't want to talk about it. Let's watch.
What else? I guess it's time to take your questions. Okay.
I think I'm more eager to take your questions than she was to take their questions. That was pretty obvious. She was asked if the Democrats were being penalized for not passing the bills that they had out there. Once again, I think she proves that denial is not necessarily a river in Egypt. Let's watch.
Do you think Democrats were penalized for having not gotten these things done?
Again, I haven't seen that and all of the analysis, and I know from my own experience that, as I've said to you before, the plural of anecdote is not data. Let's see what the data is as it comes out.
If you know what she just said, would you please send to us in the chat and tell us what she said, because I can't make heads or tails out of that. Utter gibberish. And there's one more with her. This is when she was asked about a vote being taken on these big spending bills, when it's going to happen. And was she confident it was going to pass? And she seems to be a little annoyed by even being asked the question.
Could you just project this week a little bit what you expect? Do you expect to vote tonight? And is it possible that you might just vote on the infrastructure bill, considering everybody seems to be bought in and saying it's ready for a vote?
No.
Okay, so let's vote. Do you anticipate a vote on Build Back Better today, and what are the big hurdles you have to overcome?
I'll let you know as soon as I wish to. But we're okay, you're just worried about your own schedule. I know that.
That was just bizarre. All I got to tell you is it's just almost painful to watch. One more. This is Joe Biden defending these bills that he has and being asked essentially the same thing, whether or not the Virginia setback for the Democrats maybe sent a message to them. I don't think they're getting it. Let's watch.
We brought out every Democrat about there was, more votes than ever has been cast for a Democratic incumbent. I'm not incumbent, a Democrat running for governor. And no governor in Virginia has ever won when he's of the same, or he or she's the same party as the sitting president. What I do know is, I do know that people want us to get things done. They want us to get things done. And that's why I'm continuing to push very hard for the Democratic Party to move along and pass my infrastructure bill and my Build Back Better bill.
You know, I kind of think what the people would like for them to do is to admit that parents do have a role in their children's education, and that we demand something on the border in the way of security. If you're going to make everybody in America get a vaccine, but you're not going to make the illegal immigrants crossing the borders even get checked for COVID, much less have a vaccine, we'd like to kind of get some of those things straightened out. Maybe, Joe, that's why your party took a beating the other night. But, you know, it's fine with me if you guys don't get it and you keep moving to the left, because it means people on my side of the aisle are going to have a heck of a good night November of 2022. Pam, I bet by now we got some questions rolling in. So what do we got?
We do, and we will give some shout outs too, because we've got folks, Governor, watching from all over this afternoon. Cheryl Flex says, a thought just came into my head. Maybe we should be thankful that Biden is our president. How else would anybody be able to see how bad our country could get? You don't know what you've got till it's gone.
Well, and there's another saying I think applies here. You got what you wanted, but you don't really want what you got. And I think maybe that's what a lot of people are beginning to realize. While we're taking your questions, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you'll always know when we're going to do one of these. Hit the notification bell, leave a comment, a like, and share it with the world. And if not the whole world, at least with 2 or 3 of your closest friends. That would be great.
Absolutely. Kimberly writes today, Gov, I read your morning edition today and I'm heartbroken that Afghan families are selling their daughters as child brides to pay for food. Are there any charities that are out there that could get these girls adopted into loving homes and get money to the families in the process?
I do know that Samaritan's Purse is on the ground in Afghanistan trying to help as many families. Doctors Without Borders is another organization that is there. And there are quite a few independent groups that are operating kind of quietly and under the radar because they don't obviously want to impose danger not only upon themselves but also the families in Afghanistan they're helping. So yes, the answer is there are charities that are doing all that they can do. Of course, they're very limited because they have to escape from the Taliban just to be able to get to these families, and they literally are doing it at the risk of their lives. It's pretty severe. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, then subscribe, and hit the notification bell below. Now, if you didn't like it, you ought to find a Ben Shapiro video to detox you with more facts.